This is In the Name of Football. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the In the Name of Football podcast. It's back, the football season. Well, people will say the football season was back a couple of weeks ago, but to all us Premier League nuts, it's back. The Premier League is back. We're going to look back at all the weekend's action. We're going to look at, obviously, Man City is the main one, Arsenal and the Chelsea-Liverpool game. We'll look at them in detail. But we're also going to be looking at Harry Kane's transfer to Bayern Munich, obviously, because we've covered that and what that can happen to the Premier League and Spurs in general, and obviously for Kane's future, looking for trophies, etc. And something which has been getting on my nerves a little bit is the Mbappe situation with PSG. And while we're at it, we'll look at Neymar's issues over there as well, because I've got an opinion on what I think I would do if I was offered him at Manchester United, and that might be a bit controversial. But yeah, we'll also be looking at a preview and slightly the Manchester United versus Wolves game, which is the last game of the weekend, and a new feature this week. We'll be doing it every week. We'll be giving our player of the week. Some very good contenders in there this week as well. I thought some brilliant debuts and some brilliant all-round performances. Some things never change. Erling Haaland, etc. But yeah. But as always, I'm joined by Ash. How you doing?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was a little bit concerned after Arsenal's second half display, to be honest. Getting a little bit worried that we were going to start chucking results away, like we did at the end of last season. But held on for the win just about. So I'll take it.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, I said to you yesterday, I had the old Anthony Elanga song written out, ready to go for an equalising goal, perhaps, and Arsenal starting off with a draw after your confident prediction of last weekend. But yeah, I mean, debuts galore for the Arsenal yesterday. Obviously, I think it's a great place to start because obviously you being an Arsenal fan, and why not we talk about it? Some debuts there, 3 or 4 debuts for Arsenal, and one noticeable one was Declan Rice singing "North London Forever," which was obviously very good for the West Ham fans. I think they might have appreciated that. But I like when we were messaging about it, I did actually say to you, I was like, has he actually just sung that? And we were, yeah, I think so. So I had to quickly rewind it just to make sure he did. He did. 100%.
No, he did. I mean, afterwards you can definitely tell that he was. But yeah, I mean that's certainly not going to be very, very good for the West Ham fans. I can see why they're getting annoyed about it. But what can we say? He just loves Arsenal.
Typical. But yeah, I actually generally like the song. I just think, I also think the song is actually quite good. And if I wasn't, if I didn't, if I was an Arsenal fan, I would have liked it anyway. Do you know what I mean? So it wouldn't really make a difference for me. And obviously, that's came from the Amazon documentary that they've got that on there. I actually really like it. I know you've got a different opinion to that, but slightly controversial being an Arsenal fan.
I just find it a bit cringy, Like I know I understand the whole thing behind it. Like, I think to be fair, there was a bit of a talk about us not really having a song because like obviously that's always it helps get the fans up for the game, helps build the atmosphere. So I understand the whole thing behind it. Like, I'm not gonna knock it. I just find it a little bit cringe, but I can understand why everyone get involved in it. The players seem to enjoy it as well. Like Odegaard's spoken about it. Obviously, Rice loves it. So fair enough. Just me personally, I find it a bit cringe. But no, I mean, I literally remember. What was it when I used to go to the games all the time when I was younger? It'd be like London Calling, and that's the one that always stuck out for me. But obviously, that's sort of quite a general one, as you say, sort of Louis Dunford, Arsenal fan about North London, like so. It's a bit more of a closer connection.
Yeah, no, I get it, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. Obviously, I saw the Arsenal documentary where he was at the ground and when it was first play, and him having a season ticket, etc. I think that's great, So, but if you think that's cringy, what's more cringy, the dog or the song?
What do you mean?
Please,
What, win?
please tell me. Yeah, what's more cringy, the dog or the song?
Why is the dog cringe?
Well, I don't know. I don't think the song's cringe. You think the song's cringe, so I'm asking you. I think the song's not cringe. You think the song's cringe, but then I don't know. I'm just saying. What's more
Well,
cringy, the song or the dog?
I'm going for the song then, aren't I?
Yeah. Okay. Right. Let's get into the game. Right. So obviously, like you say, I think when they were cruising at 2-0, and I just thought, yeah, here we go. This is going to be 3 or 4-0, like you predicted, and nice and easy. I think Brennan Johnson missed an absolute sitter. He should be putting chances away like that. And it's Alioni actually started the game, probably could have been 1-0 down. I think he probably would have gobbled up that chance. But yeah, I think obviously Martinelli's turn on the ball for Nketiah's goal was absolutely sublime. Whether he meant it or not, I know he obviously meant the turn, but I don't know whether
it was supposed to be the
I
pass.
think,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. But then again, on looking back, it actually did hit his heel. Now, when you usually do them turns, you play it with both of your underside of your feet if you're going to play it into your own pass. So maybe he did. Only he will know. And if if you're any sort of footballer, you're going to claim you meant that.
Obviously.
Yeah. Great little finish from Nketiah. Took it well, not come inside really well. Then he smashed it through. Took a bit of a deflection on the way in, but they all count at the end of the day. And a lovely goal from Saka again. Start picking up from where he left off last season. Absolutely superb. He's going to do it, but what can you do about it? It's one of them, innit? He's just he's going to come in on the left.
It's like when Robin would do it. He was even more one-footed, or even more left-footed than Saka, and yeah, you knew every single time he was going to cut in, and you could do nothing about it. But no, yeah, the first half I was really impressed. We were in control, we were applying pressure. Obviously, there was a couple of sort of dangers where you thought, okay, like that's not too great. Obviously, the Johnson chance that you said, but in general, we looked good. We were creating chances. Two pretty good goals, but it's just a bit confusing for me because it's like I already know for a fact that Arteta would have absolutely berated the players for what they did towards the end of last season, throwing away leads, which ultimately cost us the title. So for us to then basically near enough do the same thing in the first game of the season, it's a bit like, what are we doing, lads? Why are we taking the foot off the gas? And that's exactly what happened. We just lost that little bit of sort of impetus and, trying to do things. It was like we were in cruise control, and it's like we're 2-0 up. We're in the Premier League. Anything can happen. It's football. Like, don't take the foot off the gas at 2-0. Go get the third. Go get the fourth. Go kill the game off. That's what annoyed me a bit. It was like we got a bit too sort of comfortable again, a bit complacent. It's like, have you not learnt from your mistakes last time? And I'm pretty sure Arteta himself would have absolutely berated the players for that second half performance. And he probably would have said the same thing. If you want to win the league, guys, we cannot play like that in the second half. Because you simply can't. And that's what really, really annoyed me, because it's just like, have you not learned? What have you not learned from last year?
Yeah.
But, we got the win. We got the 3 points. First game of the season, you'll take it, obviously. But, yeah, just that is a bit, I'm just like, come on.
Yeah. No, I completely understand your frustrations. And I just thought, God, here we go. Come on, let's do the podcast straight after this game, because this will be per magic. And you are there absolutely seething. But yeah, I mean, like, special mention to Anthony Elanga, come on and change the game for Forest, given that bit of attack and emphasis. I thought he was actually put a decent shift in when he come on. And I was one of them ones who's just like, just get him out, United. I'm not saying he's good enough for United. I don't think he is by any stretch of the imagination, It's just like, it just seems that every Manchester United manager has their favourite, youth player coming through. So, like, Van Gaal had Rashford, Jose had McTominay, Ralph Solskjaer had Greenwood. Less said about that at the minute, the better. Obviously, Ranić had Elanga, and then we obviously now we've got Garnacho with Erik ten Hag. But yeah, Alioni had a fantastic finish and great run, and all credit to Nottingham Forest again, sticking to their style of play. And Steve, I always get his first name wrong. Is it Steve Cooper?
Steve Cooper, yeah, Steve Cooper.
Yeah, and I heard it on TalkSport the other day, and they mirrored what we said. Absolutely brilliant from Nottingham Forest to actually stand by the manager. and keep him there because they could have quite easily got rid of him a number of times last season. They stuck by their guns, survived, just like other teams who stuck to their guns, like West Ham as well. And I just thought it was generally a good performance from Forest. I
Yeah,
thought Morgan
I think
Gibbs White was actually really good as well. These
yeah,
played really well yesterday.
Gibbs White, I think he had a very good season last year in his first year at Forest, and I think the performance showed enough of sort of what we've been saying about Forest. Like, we think they'll be good enough to survive. They're not going to be down there like your Lutons and Sheffield United, etc. But I think that performance definitely showed that they had enough. As much as I can say about Arsenal perhaps taking the foot off the gas, got to give credit to Forest as well, staying in the game, creating chances. I just think they've got enough quality in that side. To be fair, I thought, what are you doing, just buying all those players? I personally don't necessarily like that, because it's like, these are the players who have got you to the Premier League. By and large, they deserve to have a chance of staying in there. But, maybe if they didn't sign as many players as they did, they wouldn't have survived. So, it's a tough one to say. But no, in general, I think Forest will take that performance, and that showed enough for me that they'll stay up again this year.
I'm pretty certain that Nottingham Forest have got an absolute nightmare of a start to the season. Like, their away games are horrendous. They're all like United, City, Liverpool, Chelsea. It is a really tricky, hard away beginning for them. But I think the home games are okay. It's just the away games. I think it's a bit of a tested one for them, so they could get it. Yeah, go on. I think you found it, haven't you?
Yeah, well, they got Sheffield United at home next, which they should be expecting to win. But then it's United away, Chelsea away, Burnley at home, and then City away. So those two home games are going to be.
Yeah.
But then, because of that then puts even more pressure on those home games, because it's like, we need to win these. So it can be quite difficult.
They're not going to stay up on a result at Arsenal, are they? They're not going to stay up at a result at United. So anyway, I thought Arsenal got the win they needed for opening day of the season. For me, you take it. You get your 3 points, you run, you get you up and running. Next week Arsenal go again. Who they got next week? Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't know. Well, I should know, really, because we literally looked at our 5 fixtures. But we've got Palace away.
So I mean, that gives you a good stead there to go into that game next week, and you should be fine for that. It gets you up and running, doesn't it? I think anything else you need to say about the game at all, or shall we move that one on? I think it's pretty much easy enough for that one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I was quite interested in the lineup, actually. Thomas Partey sort of playing that right back / inverted player role, which he did towards the tail end of last season. No Gabriel, and unfortunately for Timber, he got injured, and I don't know whether that was his knee or his calf, but it didn't look too great at all, because it was sort of off the ball. So maybe some worrying signs there. Again, he's playing in that sort of inverted left back role, which is quite interesting. So I was quite surprised to see Gabriel not play. I was very intrigued, but I mean, I kind of quite liked it.
Yeah, well, obviously, I thought that was a bit weird, obviously, with Kieran Tierney, but then obviously it was noted during the game, actually, by Fabrizio Romano, that Kieran Tierney could be off to Sociedad. I think I saw linked.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a bit, a bit shocked by that one. But then again, he was a bit injury prone last year, so you can also understand it if that's what they're up to.
Well, I think it's probably the best move. Like, clearly, he's not the sort of player that Arteta wants on that left-hand side. If we're going to be playing Timber there anyway, that means we've then got 2 left backs with him and Zinchenko. And arguably, you can say Tomiyasu, because Tomiyasu's played over on the left as well. Versatile options, especially if we've got, Partey's going to play on the right, White can play on the right, Tomiyasu can play on the right. So we've got enough at the back there. And I think, if Tierney's not going to play, it's probably, it's best if he moves on for his career.
Yeah, I think you're right. So let's look at the last season's champions, starting off with a 3-0 victory at Burnley. And I always say Alfing Haaland, just because that's what I grew up with. Erling Haaland starting the season. Well, actually, not starting the season off where he finished last season, because he was actually on the biggest goal drought of his actual career, 6 games without a goal. But he scored within 3 minutes. His first touch of the ball, I believe, if you disinclude the kickoff. I don't even took the kickoff, but yeah, starting off where he finished, basically, just getting 2 goals in the first game of the season, blowing Burnley out of the water. Really, Burnley weren't really in the game at all, were they? And 2 brilliant finishes from Haaland. What you want from your striker. The first one, just sniffing out a chance. Bosh, there you go, bottom left-hand corner. And that second one was absolutely superb. Just a little bit of backlift, one touch, bang, top bins. You're like, all right, mate,
Just rifled
brilliant.
it home. Rifled it home. So what can you do about it? I mean, it's just a testament to how good he is. He's such a good finisher. Like, yeah, he's outrageous. How many is he going to get this year? Yeah, is he going to get 40? If he broke that 40 mark, that would be pretty incredible, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I do. I don't like the way that all football records seem to be all about what's happened in the Premier League. Like it was documented, and we will talk about Harry Kane. It shouldn't be going because he should try and break Alan Shearer's record. Well, actually, the record for the top flight goals is actually held by Jimmy Greaves, like 360 odd, not the 269 or whatever it is scored by Alan Shearer. And we seem to forget, it's like football never existed before the Premier League, and that was actually probably harder then. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, it's different generations.
Well, yeah, and the thing is as well, they'd play a lot more games, wouldn't they, during the season, because there was more teams in the league.
Yeah, but it's just. I don't know. It just makes me. It just seems like football never existed before the Premier League. But yeah, I mean,
that's the benchmark you'd use, isn't it? Like as I said, it's the most recent. It's the best comparison to do. I see what you're saying, of course, and yeah, I mean, the Premier League football in England didn't start with the Premier League, but it's just probably the better benchmark to use.
Yeah, no, I get it, but it's just something which always sits in my head. It's like, Dixie Dean's record, 60 goals in the season, man. Come on. Anyway, look, yeah, going back to Man City, again, I don't know if you saw the Haaland Guardiola thing at half time. What did you make of that? Did you see it?
No, I didn't see it.
So basically, Haaland's walking off the pitch and Guardiola's just giving him an absolute roasting. Walking off the pitch, absolutely caning him. I think it was something to do with he wanted the ball in behind, and it wasn't. It was played to his feet, and he was just Guardiola was just going crazy at him, just proper full blown going on him. And Haaland was fine with it to be.
That's classic Guardiola, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but then Guardiola
goes what Henry said before, how it done well. I think he might have scored 2 goals himself. Yes, and then because he wasn't playing in the right position and how Guardiola wanted, he took him off and he was berating him. Like, that's how Guardiola is, isn't it? If it doesn't matter how well they've done, if they're not listening to his instructions and doing what he says, he's not happy. And I think that's kind of fair.
Yeah, to be fair, yeah, I get you. But he still come out for the second half. I mean, it seemed to be quite decent. This conversation actually seems to be quite constructive, to be fair with you. It's just, I've never really seen managers cane and players in broad daylight like that. And yeah, it's just plain sight of camera, should we say, sorry. And then Guardiola ushered the camera away, go away, because obviously the camera's focused on Haaland because he's got 2 goals. And Pep Guardiola's like, go away. What are you doing? Yeah, but that just made me laugh. It kind of tickled me. But again, Man City pairing away. Kovacic coming on for De Bruyne. It was like Kovacic has been there for 10 years, just fitted in there, which I was actually, I remember Kovacic being linked with Manchester United quite early on in the transfer window. And I was like, I'll take him. He's tidy. I just think he's been mismanaged at Chelsea a bit. I think he's a great player. And coming in and obviously now De Bruyne looks like he's on for another spell on the sidelines with a hamstring injury. Hope he's out for a while, to be fair with you. But yeah, it's just, what can you say about him? It just pisses me off, to be fair with you.
It's just, I mean, it was always going to be expected, I think. They were going to go win that game. People are saying that Turf Moor, they were going to make it difficult, etc. But City, they're far, far superior than Burnley. It's not going to be one of their tougher games. It was business as usual, was exactly how I expected it to go.
Yeah, and I think Burnley have got enough there. I think Vincent Kompany's got them playing very, very, very good football. I think they're a different proposition to Sheffield United and Luton, and I think, like we said, Wolves as well. And I just think they'll be well above there. They'll be sitting about 14th, 13th easily. They'll pick up some good wins because, like we just said, Turf Moor will be a difficult place to go. Probably not for teams like City. But, for other teams, they might struggle there. United will struggle there, for sure, because it's a derby. It's like a Manchester derby sort of thing up there with them guys. So, I can see Burnley doing absolutely fine. And I'm not going to sway away from my prediction of Man City potentially winning 4 in a row and a back-to-back treble. Typical. But I think there's not much really else we can say about Man City. Is there? To be fair, if it speaks for themselves,
Just same old City, isn't it? They're just a bit ridiculous. They didn't even have Diaz or John Stones playing either. So what can you do?
Or Garvahal come on, didn't he, as a sub,
Yeah,
and Laporte come on as a sub. It's just crazy.
yeah, it's outrageous.
Stupid. But moving on to a team who I think could actually potentially upset the apple cart and be in that title race, which absolutely blew Aston Villa out of the water, really, with an absolutely superb performance from Newcastle United beating Aston Villa 5-1. I mean, wow, what more can you say? They were superb, weren't they? They were out of the blocks. I mean, I think Tyrone Mings picked up a really bad injury in that game. Hopefully, it's not as bad as first feared, but it didn't look very good at all. He didn't move very well after that.
It was quite concerning with the fact that there weren't really there wasn't contact. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Like, there wasn't really any contact with him and a player as such. So it was his knee just completely buckled, sort of. So, and then his leg was completely in the brace straight away again. That could have been sort of a protective measure, but yeah, it didn't look good. But hopefully, it's all right. But I mean, yeah, the game itself, I know, and I guess this is sort of what we were saying on the preview show, is in the fact is, it's like that's the Newcastle we saw towards the end of the season. The first half of the season, they were a lot more rigid and defensive minded, but in the second half, once Isaac came back and everyone was sort of getting on song, that's where they were prospering, and that's exactly what happened. We backed Villa quite heavily before, and I'll take that result with a pinch of salt, to be honest. Away at Newcastle, always difficult. First game of the season, Mings gets injured. They looked good at points, to be fair, especially early on in the first half. The ball that Douglas Luiz played for that in the build up to Moussa Diaby's goal was outrageous, and then the finish himself from Diaby was class. So I think yeah, Villa will be fine. They'll be pushing up there. I think they lost 4-0 at St James's Park last year. So, but yeah, Newcastle, brilliant. They've got so many good attacking players now, and they just keep adding, as we say. Sandro Tonali. So yeah, I mean, that's what we expected. They blew him out of the water, and I wasn't expecting that good of a result, to be fair to him. But we'll see once we start getting into the thick of fixtures. Once the Champions League games start getting underway for them, things might change.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. I think some really good additions. If they can keep Isaac fit, I mean, he had an injury when he first went there, and I had not a disagreement, but I put something on Twitter today, and a Newcastle fan come back to me and was like debating his injury history, and I was like, well, actually, I didn't really know that, so I was a bit probably tongue in cheek with my little comment there. But yeah, Isaac, if they can keep him fit, and then you think that, don't you? Like Isaac, he's crucial to them. And then, Anthony Gordon actually had a really good game as well yesterday. And then they make two changes. They bring off Isaac and Gordon, bring on Harvey Barnes and Wilson, and they both bloody score, and they both look incredible. Look, they've got their own combination as well. It's like, oh my God. And like a friend of the show, Matt Brickley, had a conversation with him today about football as well. And he's like, they literally look like they're 2 or 3 players away from being real contenders in a couple of years' time. They could be looking at just unbeatable. And you tend to agree with it, because you look at that squad now. They've got Livramento, like a £30 million right back for Trippier. You've got the depth in defence. Probably need another decent centre half, to add that depth to the squad. Probably the keeper they might need to replace him soon, because he's 30 odd, isn't he? But they're looking all over the show. They've got depth, and it's just ridiculous. Again, it's another team who have got the money, they've got the back, but I think they're actually spending it wisely. That they're adding better quality than arguably Man City did when they first got the takeover money. Some of the players they're bringing in are actually better than Newcastle. It's actually a step up, but maybe that's just because the Premier League in general is far beyond a lot of leagues now as well. So they do attract more better players than maybe Man City did at the time. And the era of the league is just different. But
the Premier League sort of have so much more sort of money and capability to get the better players now compared, to the rest of the leagues. You look at Serie A, and they can't hardly spend anything because they just don't have the money. And so that's just made it far, far easier for the Premier League to, teams like Newcastle have probably a bigger pool of talent to choose from. And it's probably a lot easier to do so nowadays.
Yeah, but like looking at the game, I mean, like 3 minutes in, Sandro Tonali, absolutely superb goal, adding to it an absolutely majestic display from the guy who was all over the show. Showed a little bit more than what I actually expected from Tonali. To be fair with you, I thought he's a bit of a more of a I don't know what you kind of expect from him because I watch him week in, week out, but it's just like I just expected him to be like a nice, tidy player, ticking, going through the motions sort of player. Do you know what I mean? But decent with the ball. That's what I expected. I
he's not really
expected
like that.
Nice.
He's quite sort of penetrative going forward. Like well, there's so many times because Milan played on the counter last year, and he'd be driving with the ball forward, and he's actually quite a sort of penetrative player who will play sort of quite intricate and sort of through the lines. He's not really that player where he sits and keeps it tidy. He is
No. I didn't think he'd be. I didn't think he'd be that sort of player. Like that's you Guimaraes, right? But I just thought he'd be that little player next to him, like a Christian Eriksen who can thread the ball sort of thing, like and ping the balls about a little bit more. I thought he'd be. I don't think he'd be your steady Eddie guy, not by any stretch of the imagination. I just thought he'd be that player next to Guimaraes, like a Mazzala sort of thing. He'd bring the ball on, not be as competitive as he was yesterday. But yesterday he was just all over. Yeah, but he was just so good, no doubt in his ability before they got him. I mean, we knew that, right? But it's just how good of a player he actually is. And like we did say this, didn't we? I think on the preview show, like you don't know how good a player is until they're at your club. Like I could come back and I can come back on Tuesday and Mason Mount's the best player in the world. Do you know what I mean? Like it's true, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah,
and I mean that Tonali goal as well. I mean that's a good finish. He made it look easier than it was, but the way in which he slid in there, that's very, very hard to control. And he's come in there and done very well. And obviously for the second goal, that pass into the build-up was sublime. So yeah, a perfect debut for Tonali, and just such a good player.
Well, what did you? I mean, I didn't hear it because I was working at the time, but I was watching the game when I can and listening to it, etc. But what did you make of the Isaac's first goal? I thought that was a bit controversial for me because I don't think that goal should have been allowed to stand because it's like, when does the second phase of play begin? For me, the ball comes in from Tonali, he's offside. Dan Burn, who plays the ball across, is onside. But then Isaac's offside in the first instance when it goes to Dan Burn and he's laid it across the goal. But then obviously Isaac has gained an unfair advantage by being in an offside position in the first place.
Yeah, I do see what you're saying, but
I don't think if the ball goes across Isaac, comes back across, and then he nuts it in, that's a different ball game. I think that's the second phase. But that to me is still the first phase, right? It comes over and then back. It's like all one motion, isn't it?
But then it's not because the second ball's played, so that ends that first phase where he is offside, and then the second phase starts again because there's the second pass, isn't there? And then after that, he's onside. But I do understand what you're saying. The fact that he is sort of gaining an advantage from being in an offside position in the first place. But when you start doing that, you're going to get really complicated, isn't it? There's no way you can police that.
Well, who knows the offside rule then? Because I don't. To me, I'm like, that's the first line of phase still. That's got to be the first phase of play still.
Well, no, because the second pass is played, the second pass is played, so
no, I understand what you're saying, but to me, it's still you got to think of the whole thing. To me, that's a training ground routine. Yeah, they've knocked it across. Tonali's obviously, no one's really picked up on the Tonali ability. Obviously, they've knocked it across to Tonali. He's pinned a perfect ball into Dan Burn. He's laid it across and he's knocked it in. I just think, to me, I don't think that should have been allowed. I really don't. I think he's gained an unfair advantage in the first place. You might call it clever. I don't. I think it was, I'm like, when I saw it, I was like, yeah, that's offside. And then well, actually, I was like, are you joking? They've allowed that. I weren't too keen on it, to be fair with you. But going back to but we'll stay with the actual proper game instead, because it could be all day debating decisions like that. Like you say, you start looking at stuff like that, you'd be there all day. But yeah, I think that again, they're showing some great great counter-attacking football at times, weren't they? You know, just like nice little balls through. And I think it was something which was highlighted with Villa towards the end of last season as well, that they do like to play a high line. And yes, they really did backfire. Obviously, Pau Torres probably wasn't used to that, and he wasn't in the instance of the game and up to their game their game plan and stuff. So that might take a few more games for him to fit into that. But very, very, very tidy finish from Isaac for his second goal, Newcastle's third. Absolutely sublime chip. That was unreal. And, you know, not giving Concert any time on the ball. And it's a lovely little dink in.
The finish is outrageous. Right? Yeah, it's outrageous. But for me, what I liked was sort of the build up in it, because how he was making his run, he was sort of going and going, but he wasn't like drifting offside. He made sure he kept on side, and then he picked that time to make the run in behind. So it was just so clever. The off the ball play there was clever, and albeit he didn't necessarily get it, he still kept going, as you say, won that ball off Concert, and then I mean the finish is just outrageous.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable. And obviously, like we say, Callum Wilson, Harvey Barnes coming on, looking like a completely different. It was two different games, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, they made two substitutes, brought the two players off, brought the other two on, bosh, goal. And you're like, really? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you know, and Harvey Barnes, a great acquisition from Leicester City, you know, like roughly about 35, 40 million pound. Great piece of business there from Newcastle yet again. Yeah, but I will still say you have got a 350 million pound net spend roughly, but you know we won't look at the fact that Newcastle are doing well off the back of spending money. Obviously not. But yeah, you know,
just quickly on the Barnes goal though, have you seen? It's been going about social media, but have you seen? Obviously, he's doing the celebration where he picks like the arrow out of his back, and then everyone's saying about the Newcastle fan who's got his top off. And then he does it as well, and like the form in which he does it is like 10 times better than how Barnes did it. If you haven't seen it, you need to go and watch it. Yeah, I'll have to show you it, or maybe I'll retweet it on Twitter. It's actually crazy. Like he does it, and it's so smooth. Like how he does it, and like the release of his hand and everything. It's just the Newcastle fan absolutely smashed it.
Brilliant. Well, they're the three main games we want to look on. Newcastle finishing the weekend, unless Manchester United pull something out of the back. They finished the day at the first time top of the league since Sam Allardyce was there. So top of the league, Newcastle United. Enjoy it while you can, because I think they'll do all right. I think they're still they will finish in that top four. But it's all about the Champions League for me, how they deal with the Champions League coming in, etc. And you know, and how they deal with that. But that was interesting. I didn't think about that until the other day. You actually have got 3 teams there who are now in the Champions League this year who haven't been. I mean, United, yes, we took it a bit more serious than Arsenal last year, and we did put all of our players, we put all our main players in the whole game, didn't we? Every single game was near enough our strongest lineup. So we're probably, us and City are probably the most prepared for football like that, I think. And that's just going on last season. I'm not saying it because I'm a United fan. I just think we did generally put our eggs into every single basket, didn't we, last year? We just went for everything. So I think, you know, I was just thinking that basically you have got 3 teams there who are all got to try and mix the Champions League in like they weren't last year, and potentially they will want to take it more seriously than Arsenal would want to take the Europa League, and United would want to take the Europa League, etc. So you know, you don't want Arsenal to go in there and not really put out a stronger side, would you? You know, it's not like where you can play.
That's why we've got the depth, you know, and that's why we have added the quality across the board. And you know, even just you know, based on yesterday's game, Gabriel didn't start, Jorginho didn't start, Smith Rowe, you know, Nelson, you know, Jesus is injured, you know, Fabio Vieira. There's so much quality, you know, outside of the team, the first 11 now. So I think we should be fine. And you know, you look at it as well, and the schedules of at least the top international players these days as well. They're constantly playing. You know, again, when did Saka get a break last year? He didn't really, because he essentially played every single game for us. And then he played for England as well. Same with Declan Rice, who also had to play in Europe. And again, you can say it was only the Conference League, but the intensity in that for West Ham and how they were playing probably kind of on par, if you see what I'm trying to say there.
Yeah.
in terms of, if Arsenal were to play in the Europa League, the intensity isn't as high in the group stage. Whereas, like for West Ham playing in sort of those rounds, it's a little bit more different. So no, but I mean, that is a valid point for sure. We haven't played in the Champions League for, I think, since 2018, 2017, something like that. So it'll be interesting to
It's
see.
a long time.
Yeah, it
That's a
is.
lot, yeah. But we'll just look at quickly run through the rest of the weekend's results. Obviously, Bournemouth drawing 1-1 with West Ham. We raved about Saka's goal, Jared Bowen's goal. Actually, like near enough a carbon copy of that. Cuts inside, brilliant top left corner. Whatever the song is, Danny Dyer. Bloody Jared Bowen, whatever he's shagging Danny Dyer. And Max Aarons, played really well for Bournemouth. I saw like some of his passes yesterday into one very, very, intricate ball down the line to Dominic Solanke. He actually looked quite tidy for Bournemouth yesterday, but Dominic Solanke equalising things up there for Bournemouth 1-1. Iriola coming in there for Bournemouth and, stamping his own authority on there. And they played a lot more better, a lot more possession-based football. Looked really tidy.
It's the expectation, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think we sort of said as well, I think that's how they're going to play this year. They might be a bit more expansive, maybe at the cost of conceding a few goals, but, he's going to have to try and find that balance. Quickly on West Ham as well, I think, they may struggle at the start, but I think once they do get, Ward-Prowse in, Maguire, even though the Maguire deal, have you seen the latest reports on that? Apparently that might not go ahead. I think there's some issues potentially with his contract and his wages, the wages demand. So, yeah, not too sure on that one.
Oh God, help me. He's never going to leave, is he? He's never going to leave.
I looked at this as well yesterday. So obviously Chelsea, they've got so much slack for handing out like 7-8 year contracts. But did you know because I was thinking, what are Maguire's wages? Surely he's had a contract extension since he first joined United. He hasn't, because that first year deal, that was a 7-year contract. And I didn't even realise. So it's not new. So why is it highlighted with Chelsea, but it wasn't highlighted really with Maguire at the time that it was a 7-year deal?
I thought it was a 5+1. That's my understanding. United have got this habit of 5+1s.
Well, it's 7. It's a 7-year contract. Maybe there wasn't a 1-year extension in there along the way. I don't know, but yeah.
Fuck you, Ed Woodward. Just fuck you.
Well, that's literally what I said. I was like, well, that's why, because Ed Woodward at the time was handing out ridiculous contracts, weren't he?
Yeah. And while we're talking about departures from Manchester United, the pasture has left today. The pastor has left. Fred, you absolute beauty. I absolutely loved him, to be fair with you. I think a lot of people had an issue with him. I just think I've never known a player like it. I think Roy Keane or Gary Neville said it in the commentary once. Literally, like, you get inconsistent players, right, who have a good game, have a bad game, have a good game, have a bad game, have a bad couple of games, have a good couple of games, play well for a month, play a couple of bad games. No. Fred is new level. Fred is like, I'll have a bad 2 minutes and then I'll have a wandering, outstanding 10 minutes, and then I'll just go and pass on the ball to score a goal. And,
weird player. But I think he was just a little unfortunate about the whole sort of context and the situation at United. I think in the right time, like if he joined United now, I think he'd be a very, very good player and it'd be a lot bit more settled. Whereas I think for the most part, it's been quite sort of tumultuous. Throughout his career.
I don't want to. We'll go to Manchester United a little bit later on, but I just thought I'd add it in as we're talking about Maguire going to West Ham. But as I thought, and as I think we kind of predicted, Brighton getting off to an awesome start against Luton. 4-1. I mean, what can you say? And I did love the Morris penalty from Luton, actually. It was a brilliant little penalty. I know, like, Fernandez and all these have these weird ways of taking penalties, but I did like Morris's as like a lovely little
stutter.
Yeah.
They all do that now, though. They all sort of do that same sort of thing.
But Morris, he just looked like this old school footballer when he done it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. He just looked something about him.
It looked a bit better than like the Jorginho way of doing it, where it feels so forcey. I think Morris was a little bit more smoother with the way he did it.
Yeah. And I'm pretty certain you might want to do this research while we're at it, but this is the guy who went to Barnsley from Norwich. I'm pretty certain he
Carlton Morris, he was at Norwich,
Yeah. But so that was 4-1. João Pedro getting off the score sheet for off the mark for Brighton, and
everyone been raving about him.
Yeah, and you've got Evan Ferguson hit with a goal as well. Solly March chipping in, didn't he? And I forget Adradinga, is it? Another one of Brighton's fines coming in there for a 4-1 win there. And probably as expected, isn't it, really? If we were predicting the result for the weekend, that probably would have been something what we probably would have said 4-4, 4-0, 4-1, something like that, wouldn't we?
It's always going to be a comfortable win. I think, I think for the most part, Luton kept it closer than I thought. They got back into the game with that penalty, and it was only sort of late on when they added the third and fourth. But, that's sort of what we expected, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Good start for Brighton, really.
Yeah. Well, it just continues to go bad for Everton. A 1-0 loss at home to Fulham. That's not good. You through all your struggles of from last season or the last couple of seasons under Dyche, going into a new stadium next season, you wanted to be, in front of your home fans. You wanted to be getting off to a good start, and they've obviously gone and lost 1-0 at home. And I think, to me, there was actually, upon watching the highlights, there was some outrageous chances. Neil Maupay, you can see why the guy hasn't scored for nearly a year. He's absolutely shocking. It was just like, I think the best thing he's done, and that was for an Arsenal, when he injured frickin' Leno, I think it's the best thing he's done for you, wasn't it? I think it's the best thing he's done in football recently. But, Divock Reed getting the winning goal for Fulham. And, on a different day, Everton win that game, but that's not what you need, is it? Not starting off well.
Especially at home, you think, right, Sean Dyche has sort of had a full season there now, full summer to get things going, and yeah, it's not ideal, but you would have thought. I think they're just about going to be fine, purely just because the rest of the teams around them are going to be worse.
Yeah.
But I think we kind of knew that they'd be struggling.
Yeah.
They've been struggling now for the last few years. When is their luck? Is their luck finally going to run out? Maybe it is this year. We don't know. I think. Again, Calvert-Lewin. If Calvert-Lewin's the key. He wasn't able to play yesterday, so he needs to play. And once Calvert-Lewin plays, I think he'll be fine, and I think Everton will be fine. But yeah, they've got nothing without him.
Yeah, and that ain't good, is it? The top goal scorer last year, Dwight McNeil, was 7 goals. It says it all, doesn't it, really? Moving on from that, Crystal Palace, big up Roy Hodgson for grabbing someone by the scruff of the neck, one of the players for trying to get the ball. I thought, go on, Roy.
Yeah, he loves it. 75 years old, and he's still squaring up to fucking, what 20, 30-year-old blokes.
Yeah. I did like that. Osson Edouard getting the goal for Palace, and a couple of goals ruled out there for Palace as well on another day. I was just going to add this in. I knew obviously Zaha had gone. I still think that's a bit of a weird transfer going to Galatasaray, but I think that's more to do with playing Champions League football.
Yeah,
I don't think it's anything to do with anything else. But enjoy your 3 games in the Champions League because they'll probably get knocked out. But
6. That's 6 group stage games.
Oh yeah. Sorry, 6. Yeah. Elise, what's going on with him? What
he's been injured, hasn't he?
Missing Elise as well.
He's been injured, yeah. So he's injured. He was always going to miss the first few games of the season because of injury. But yeah, he is linked to be a move away. But no, the reason why he hasn't played, he didn't play because he was injured. So he's set to miss the start of the season. Don't know how long for, but yeah, he's injured.
Mate, if they're talking about him being linked away, I want United involved because I fucking love him. I think he's great. I think he's got some outstanding ability. Elise, I think he's absolutely quality player. And
I think that's why they were happy for Zaha to go because they've got Eze and Elise, who they make up more than enough. I think.
Yeah. So that was a great win for Palace, as you expected, and again, it could have been more comfortable for them. But yeah, 1-0 win, and obviously, like you say, next week at home to Arsenal. But yeah, good win, standard. Expected that to happen, and Sheffield United just look garbage again. So straight back down for them. But moving on to today's fixtures, obviously Brentford 2, Tottenham 2, Harry Kane-less Tottenham. But after his £100 million move to Bayern Munich. But yeah, do you know what? I actually As Postecoglou, I was interested to see how it got on because obviously being in Celtic, I don't rate Scottish football at all. I don't get anyone who thinks that they should be in the Premier League because they wouldn't even. Oh,
It's quite funny
no.
actually because I was having a heated debate in a group chat yesterday with Harry Disco, our ex co-host, and Reece Davidson, friend of the podcast, and he's a Rangers fan, and he was trying to stick up for Rangers. But I was like, look, if they came to England, and they'd probably essentially be the sort of same as like Swansea and Cardiff, by and large be in the Championship. Okay, they might have a few seasons where they might be able to push and get promoted. They might have a season or two that are good in the Premier League, but by and large, they'd be mediocre Championship teams, and that's where they'd be. Maybe if they got a bit more money once they come into English football, things might be different purely, because of how the size of the club and the amount of money they'd get through, the revenues through like merchandise, etc. Adding on to the TV money they'd get, it'd be different, But by and large, the quality of their teams right now. Championship, they'd struggle to get promoted. They'd struggle to get promoted in the Championship.
I think you look at other teams. I mean, I was listening to Soccer Saturday yesterday, and I think it was Chris Boyd was doing the Rangers game, and he's like, Todd Cantwell, absolutely outstanding. And that's a really, really bad Scottish accent. But, he was going on about Todd Cantwell was being this absolutely brilliant player. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, he was like raving about him and the quality he's got. And I'm just like, he
couldn't even play at Norwich. He couldn't even get in the team at Norwich.
Yeah. And I just thought to myself, Jesus Christ! And you're raving about this player. It's just horrendous.
And they were playing against Livingston yesterday as well. Livingston.
Yeah. And I'd like to see. I could see someone like. I reckon Bournemouth would turn Livingston over, like in a 3 or 4-0. It just be easy,
Rangers.
Yeah, and like Celtic though, I don't even think Celtic would be Celtic and Rangers. That'd be one of them games where they probably get a few decent results at home, but that would be it. I just feel I don't, Parkhead or a full Parkhead against a Liverpool, Man City, Manchester United. You're going to get the crowd going, and I think if anyone would do well in England, it would be Celtic. But yeah, no. I don't even know why we spent 5 minutes talking about Scottish football. It's garbage. Get in the bin, move on next. Someone give me a pasting for even mentioning them. Right.
Well. The thing is, this is why we mentioned it was because it was the Tottenham thing, and I say, yeah. Well, to be fair though, Brendan Rodgers was at Celtic. He did well there, and then he come over to England and did back to England anyway, and he did very well at Leicester. So I think there could be
Liverpool.
Yeah, well, there could be a trend there. Obviously, we'll see. I don't really know too much about the manager himself. I think, as I said, take what he's done at Celtic with a pinch of salt. But yeah, Tottenham. They, again, sort of classic Tottenham, really. Looked okay, looked decent at times going forward because they've got some good quality players there, and the likes of Son and Basuma and etc. But again, just too many sort of frailties at the back. They're not solid enough, and again, it's probably just business as usual. And when they haven't got somebody like Harry Kane up top who's going to probably bail them out, they're going to struggle. They are going to struggle.
Yeah, I actually thought, considering where Brentford were last season, how well Brentford actually done in games, and I think it was mentioned on the commentary today that only Arsenal really outplayed Brentford last year in a 3-0 win. And I think, I think there's a lot of positives to come from there today. I thought Basuma had one of his best games since being at Tottenham. I think he was all over the show, to be fair with you. The left back, who I think you actually said was actually decent in Serie A last year, he looked really, really tidy. Is it D Good or something like that? He was actually
Edoji. Did he play? I thought it was Emerson Royale who played.
No, Royale was right back. I'm pretty certain this is the guy you were talking about. Left.
Edoji, he's a very good
he
player.
played left. He was brilliant today, and I thought Spurs looked tidy, and give that Maddison and Richarlison, the combination time to develop. I've always Richarlison, to me, I think he was dealt a rough hand at Spurs last year, right? Because when you've got Harry Kane, you're not going to be given the run of games you need. And I think, given he scored a fair few goals for Brazil. Did fairly handy in the World Cup when he was given the chance. And I'm like,
But I mean,
maybe given the chance
I
to be the
understand what
main
you're
man at
saying.
Spurs, there could be
But
something there.
one Premier League goal last year, that's appalling. I know that he weren't playing up front, but he was playing
How
on the
many
wing.
games did he play?
Yeah, but he made a significant amount of appearances. Like, even if he wasn't
Hmm.
playing up top, he would have been playing on the wing, and he literally scored one Premier League goal in 27 appearances. Like, that's not good enough.
All right, then, but I'm just saying, maybe there's something
I mean,
there,
he
and
might
maybe
do
I'm giving
now.
him too much of a benefit of the doubt. Yeah, there's not that whole Kane thing, and you know, uh, you know. But I thought, yeah, a great Brentford performance as well. You got to consider the fact that Ivan Toney wasn't there today. A great penalty from Mbomo, I think, who scored the penalty. The penalty, and I just thought it was a really good game. I thought I really did enjoy watching that one. A
And
great goal from Emerson Royale as well. And
yeah,
go on.
Johan Visa, who I said, him coming in, he'd be the backup for Tony. He got off to a
Yeah.
good start, which I thought he would. Considering how he would have made limited time really last year, he still got 7 goals. 3 assists as well, and he's kicked off the season with a goal. So I think Visa will be a very solid sort of player up top for them before Tony gets back.
Yeah. We'll quickly. I don't really quickly rush through it, but um, I thought it was a good all-round performance. I think 2-2's deservedly a good result for both sides. I think they both deserve the draw out of that. I was particularly impressed with Tottenham. I've got to say, I know it's only the first game of the season, but they've got a few players there to gel, and yeah, I thought it was actually quite a solid performance from Spurs. And there's going to be a lot of Spurs fans worried about how they do with Harry Kane. I think you'll be all right. I think it'll take time. Someone I could see Spurs. They should be going after someone like a Dusan Vlahovic because Juventus don't want him, and that could work out well for him. If they went to someone like him, I think I'd be all right. But yeah, it remains to be seen. But I think it was a very good performance from both sides, and deservedly a 2-2 draw. And I think on another day, Spurs could have. They probably weren't looking forward to going there today. It could have been an easier start for possibly likely.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah,
Always going to be difficult away at Brentford, isn't it? So.
yeah. Moving on to the final game of the weekend, and obviously Chelsea versus Liverpool. I think we've well documented on this podcast that we thought that both sides here would struggle, and I think you could see this was two sides today watching that game who were very new to each other. I think Liverpool probably showed that they were more used to each other than Chelsea at times. I think Harrogate said it during the commentary that when Liverpool were more dominating the game, they didn't look as in control of the game as Chelsea did when they were in control of the game. But yeah, I think overall you just saw that there was still two teams who were not used to each other. There was a very, very good goal. The Liverpool's first goal from, Liverpool's goal, should I say? From Diaz, absolutely superb ball from McAllister, great ball in from Salah, and a brilliant finish from Diaz. And obviously, Chelsea, is it Axel Duzar? Do easy? I can't. Yeah, I think he was linked. Yeah, he was linked with United, and obviously he went to Chelsea. But yeah, I think it's a tough one, isn't it? It's just like, where do you place these two teams? I think
But we didn't say
it's a
Liverpool
very
were going to
difficult way to
struggle.
place them.
Like we didn't think they would. There was
Yeah.
some concerns with
No,
the midfield and the fact that Fabinho and Henderson were going, but we both said that Liverpool would probably be, very much in contention for top 4. And I think they were the better side today. The first half of the game was brilliant. The second half was pretty dire. But I think I think Liverpool will be fine. Salah was still doing his usual. Salah still looked quality all over the place. McAllister, as you quite rightly said, with that ball, and Trent as well. He was quite unfortunate. The ball he played through in that Salah goal, which eventually got disallowed. And this is what I was thinking. Is Trent going to tuck in and sort of support that midfield? And that is what he did. A lot of the time, he was sort of tucking in and playing in that inverted role. So with him there, that could work out quite nicely. But I still do think they are missing that holding player. Yes, McAllister will sit and play there, but he's not that sort of defensive midfielder that you need. And I think that's where they potentially will struggle, unless they go out and buy someone.
I think they should go and get someone like Moise Caicedo. Yeah, that they need Moise Caicedo. I think they should probably put their eggs in one basket and go and get, they did try that, didn't they? They tried that one. No, they did. They did try that one. I forgot. They did. Yeah. Yeah, that didn't work out well, did it? Well, actually, we don't know yet. You know, I just thought today, go on, Chelsea, parade them at half time or something. Go on, do it. Like that would just be absolute piss boil, wouldn't it? You know, it's just like yeah, absolute madness. That would have been crazy. But yeah, I think it was just it was. I think yeah, I think what I was trying to say is we did discuss that it would be too early for both these teams to get into the Champions League sort of spaces, didn't we? You know, Chelsea less so than Liverpool, but I just think it was obviously quite obvious today that there was two teams there who were just so on any given day they could have been taken apart from anyone in the the top two or three sides in the country today. I think you could see that. They'll get it together though. I think both sides will. I just don't know if Chelsea will get anywhere near that top four as like Liverpool will.
Yeah, I think Liverpool are ahead of Chelsea, and I think you saw that today. I think Liverpool were the better side in general, and yeah, they'll be fine. And I think you've got Caicedo and Lavia, so you'll get them both go to either Chelsea or Liverpool, won't you?
Yeah, I think one will go. I think it will just end up exactly how it was looking like anyway. I think Caicedo will go to Chelsea and Liverpool will go to Lavia will go to Liverpool. I think that's how it always was, despite both teams bidding for each other's targets. I just don't understand how that's happened. But anyway, let's move on from that. I think the one thing actually no, we won't. I think the one thing I would say about Liverpool, I think they are like potentially a couple of injuries away, whereas before I don't think they were, but particularly in the defensive side of things now, they're a couple of injuries away from being overrun, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? Whereas before, you could argue that they had some backup in that midfield area, but I think now it's just like one or two injuries, you're done. It's very, very light on the ground. They need to get a couple of good signings in that midfield unit still. But yeah. Yeah, let's see where they go. I mean, there's still plenty of stuff. There's still plenty of time to go in the transfer window. Let's move on then. I think that is where we have finished for the Premier League weekend's action. So I think it's actually we didn't actually say we'd do this, but I'm going to quickly bring it up now because I think one person in particular who does listen to the podcast or did, but I think he will do more so now that he is. I'm just going to check this before I say it. He's still top of the league. We'll look at our Premier League, our in the Name of Football podcast, Premier League fantasy.
Fantasy football.
Fantasy football.
Well,
Scott Ford
we're still not finished though. We haven't still finished the game week, so we've still got the United game to go.
Yeah, well, let's just say I'd say because we're doing the weekend review now, we'll look at it because obviously United is still Monday, isn't it? But I'd still say we should look at it now because if we look at it next week, we'll be looking at 2 weeks, right? So let's look at it now quickly. We've got Scott Ford is leading the way on 78 points. Cameron Long's in second with 75 points, and Josh Phillips is currently second, sitting in third with 74 points. So quite tight up there as well. Kyle Addle's actually jumped in there as well. He's sitting in fifth, and then we've got Ollie Hall is sitting in fourth. Joint third. Yeah, joint third. Yeah. So I don't know where you are, and I don't know where I am. I think we're too far in the table to even worry about it. But what I will say is there's 3 people with the same team name as me.
Yeah, I saw that.
I was absolutely steaming when I saw that. Well, that's quite clever. And then everyone has actually got it.
I'm just seeing where you are. You're all the way near down the bottom, obviously.
It's because half my players play on Monday, don't they?
Oh, because you've got one United player. You've got one United. What? Well, 2. We got 2. Sorry, you got 2. Oh, 3. You've got 3 United players. Yeah, but still, Garnacho's will Garnacho even start? Will Garnacho even start?
Yeah. Well, we'll look at that in a minute, actually. But right, that's the fantasy football thing tied up for this weekend. I think you can still add your team in, but I'm not too sure if the points carry on. So if you want to join it and see, because I think, like you said, the old co-host is sitting there waiting to come in. Harry Disco dances.
He's joining late.
Yeah. So if he wins,
I'm pretty sure what happens is like you won't get the points for like the first week. Then
you should have accumulated.
So yeah, it's a little bit of a setback, but can still join. The league code's on Twitter, it's on Facebook.
Yeah. Right, so we've covered the weekend's action. Let's quickly look at it then. So tomorrow, the game I'm off to, or today, because the podcast is actually released on the Monday, but recorded on Sunday night. So Manchester United versus Wolves. Just a quick little look at that. Obviously being a United fan, I'm going to give you my team prediction. I'll give you my team prediction. I will give you my score prediction as well, and I'll let you have your say as well, mate. But I'm going David De Gea in goal. No, David De Gea. Andre Onana in goal. Wan-Bissaka right back. Varane. Lisandro Martinez is back. Yes. Luke Shaw, Casemiro, Mason Mount, Bruno Fernandes, Anthony, Garnacho, and Rashford. I think that's how they'll start tomorrow. And I'm going for
why do you think Garnacho will start?
Just because he's been playing a lot of the preseason games, looked very lively, and I think you've kind of got to go on the last full preseason game where they literally played near enough that team, but the low made an absolute shocking mistake to allow the a really bad back pass. And I think that's it wasn't even a back pass, it was just a crossfield pass, and he put it about 10 yards behind Varane. So I think if that's one area of the team or in the back four where he's undecided, Dalot or Wan-Bissaka, I think he could throw either one in there, because I don't think he's sure on which one's the better one of the two. So I think it'll be Wan-Bissaka. That's the team I'm going for, because that's the team he's played the majority of when they put the strongest sides out in any of the games, whether it be substitutes or anything, it's always been Garnacho, Anthony, and Rashford up top. It might be a bit of a curveball and put Sancho on the right, but I very much doubt it. I think Palestri's played a few games as well, but yeah, I'm tending to go with that for that team tomorrow, and I'm going to go for a 3-0 win. I think Gary O'Neill coming in and obviously being appointed the new manager. As much as he's done really well with Bournemouth last year, I just.
Do you think that Rashford will start up top then?
Yeah, I think he will. Yeah. Yeah, I think that front. I think that front forward line is near enough guaranteed to play them three. That six is near enough set in stone. I think you'll have like Sancho or Garnacho will play from the left. I think you'll have Rashford or Rasmus Højlund from up top. And at the minute, while Højlund's not physically right, I think that might be Rashford or Sancho, because Sancho's been playing in a false nine in pre-season. Yeah. And I think you've got from the left this year. From the right, I think it will be either Anthony or Diallo. But at the minute, I think depends on how Diallo recovers and how the time frame or the time schedule for him to come back depends on who goes out on loan. Because I think it's either going to be Diallo or for Palestri from the right for Manchester United as an understudy to Anthony. So whoever's back, and it's one of them two. If he's back before the end of transfer window or roughly, and the prognosis the outlook looks really good for Diallo, I think he'll stay. And then I think for Palestri will go, because he deserves his opportunity. I think Diallo coming in at the minute. And arguably, Palestri could play across that front three anyway. So anyway, that's what I'm going for. I think 3-0. I think it'll be a 3-0 win for United comfortably. So go and judge it on that. I think that'll probably be
a comfortable win for United. Really, 3-4, maybe even 5.
Mate, because I said 3-0, it'll probably be 1-0 Wolves, and then Andre Onana's probably passed it to their striker. But I think I've kind of lined myself up for some right Onana bloody mistakes this season, haven't I? Really, to be fair with you, I'll get a lot. Of
you have for this, because the amount of hate you gave De Gea.
Come on, I'm not going to go into it, but we're not going.
We're not going into it, but yeah.
Right. Okay, so let's move on then. I think we've covered enough of the Premier League action. Let's cover a little bit more of Premier League action, if you want to call it Premier League action. Massive transfer. I think it was something which we always thought would happen, but I didn't think it would be to this club in particular. Obviously, Harry Kane leaving Tottenham Hotspurs to go to Bayern Munich. £100 million transfer. If I was a Tottenham fan, I'd be fuming, because I think it's very, very poor mismanagement from Tottenham Hotspurs. You knew you were going to sell Harry Kane. If you're any sort of football club, right, you start having these conversations with these players in 2 years to go with the contract, not 1 year. And if that footballer says to you, no, I want to talk about this in a year, you make that decision for him. In my view and opinion, Harry Kane, who was coming off of a brilliant Euros, was arguably England's leading player in the Euros and near enough won us the Euros, didn't he? He was at his prime value. A team like Manchester United would have probably snapped their hands off him. And I think, in fact, Man City tried to.
Yeah.
And they just didn't let it happen. And I think the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust have actually gone after Levy, haven't they? And rightly so, and said this needs answering, because ultimately, not only have you messed Ange Postecoglou's season up, potentially, but you've also ruined another season and the season before, where you could have had managers and given them more. Conte could have had an extra 150 million to spend on players, and he gets good results. He could have gone and got a Lukaku and got the
That's
very
what I
best out of
mean.
him.
Like, that's a very good point. That's a very good point, because I think, as you say, if they did sell Kane and Conte then had that money to spend, I'd have been 10 times more worried about it than now that Postecoglou, or however you say his name, is there.
That is I'm going with that, yeah.
Because Conte, we know what he can do. We know what he can do when he's got the resources and he has the money to spend and he's backed. He will go out there and he'll smash it. He'll buy the players that he wants to fit his system. Okay, maybe Postecoglou might do quite well, but it remains to be seen. But if Conte was there and he had that money to spend on 3 or 4 players to invest in the whole squad, I'd be 10 times more worried than I am right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. I said it actually. I've actually put the point across. But yeah, I think Tottenham Hotspurs with Conte and that money to spend with Kane, I think he would have sought so much better players than what they can do now. I think they would have been more of a project. Spurs would have been in the Champions League. Do you know what I mean? Well, they were, weren't they? So it's just, I think it's a very, very bad flaw from Daniel Levy to keep hold of him for another year. And I don't understand under what pretenses, why has he done that? On the hope that Harry Kane signs a new contract. I think it's mismanagement from the club.
Well, yeah, but there's a reason, as you sort of said. You said that that a lot of the fans aren't happy, and they aren't. They're protesting. They want Levy out, and there's a reason, and quite clearly highlighted by Conte himself, that the whole situation at club at Tottenham Hotspur as a club, above the on pitch stuff and behind the scenes, is an absolute joke. It's an absolute farce, really, and it has been now for some time. And there's a reason why they haven't won a trophy since 2008, and and that trophy was the League Cup. It's just, it's silly, really, and they're making all the wrong decisions above that, and that's why I can't really see much improvement. Yes, they didn't do too bad today, and they've got a decent squad, but it's never really going to improve, not drastically anyway.
And on Harry Kane, I think deciding to leave now, okay, yep, I think he's well within his rights to. I don't blame anything. I don't put any blame at Kane for staying and probably potentially decreasing his value to a buyer. Because I think, like we just said, I think if he goes when it was like after the Euros, you're probably looking 120, 130 million, potentially upwards. And obviously now he's gone to Bayern for roughly about 100 million by the sounds of it. I think it's a great move for him. He's going to score the goals to win him the title. He's going to get the trophies he wants. Okay. He didn't get one Saturday night, which everyone thought he was going to go there and win one after one day at being at Bayern. Not even 24 hours in the job, and he's got more trophies there than he has at Spurs for 10 years. But it didn't happen. And I
tell you what, though, have you seen that video? It's hilarious. Kane is like, he runs straight over to the referee to sort of have a go at him, and then he's just standing there and he doesn't know what to say because he doesn't speak German, which again is a bit stupid because everyone in Germany essentially speaks English, so I'm pretty sure they would have understood. But yeah, it's just funny because he's literally just standing there like. He's like, what do
Yeah.
I don't know, that was funny.
I did see a clip as well of like the camera went to Harry Kane and Kim Min Jae, and neither of them were talking. I think they were just both sitting there like, "What the fuck have we done?" You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, to
And
be fair, I mean that's a little bit different because Kim, he probably doesn't speak English. I doubt it. I'm not too sure, but there's less of a chance than Kim knowing English than the rest of the Germans on the pitch.
yeah, but no, yeah, it's unfortunately he didn't get his first trophy, but I think it's a great move for him. Bayern Munich guaranteed to be in Champions League every year. He wants to be playing in the top competitions. It probably, arguably, now puts Bayern Munich amongst the favourites to win the Champions League. I think that's something you said, and I even think you went as far as saying Bayern Munich Champions League winners.
I said back it. I said back it. I mean, I don't know what the odds are. I don't think the outright odds are out yet because they're waiting for all the qualifying to be done and the draw to be done. But judging on the price, which unfortunately now Harry Kane signed, it's going to be probably a lot shorter. But I think they could be definitely a big shout for sure.
Yeah, so I think all in all, I don't think we can argue that the Premier League has lost a legend. To be fair with you, I think he is a legend of the Premier League. He hasn't won it, but I think
just the amount of goals he scored, and his English as well, and there's no denying just how good he is, and the way in which he's adapted his game as well. He over the years he sort of changed and been this player who's he's a complete forward, isn't he? I think when he first broke onto the scene, yes, he was a goal scorer. And then, the last few years, which has really taken to that elite level, is that his all-round play, how he drops deep, how he links up plays, he's an incredible footballer.
Yeah, no, well said. And I think all the best to Harry Kane. I know he doesn't obviously listen to the podcast, but all the best to Harry Kane. Go on, do your stuff, win your trophies you want. And for me, come back and break Alan Shearer's Premier League record. Not top flight record, Premier League record. Come back and do that. I did absolutely love. I mean, I hate Shearer. Guy's twat. Should have joined United. But that's his problem. But I did like his tweet when it was like, "Come on, Harry, it's time to go." Did you see it? And he's like, "Guy, took a picture of himself next to the airport, and he's the pilot, and next to the plane, and he's a pilot." Oh, it's brilliant. It's like, it's great. Obviously, yeah. But
I mean, how funny will it be though? Because Bayern have won the Bundesliga 11 consecutive seasons. If they now don't go and win the Bundesliga, or the DFL Cup, I think it's or DFL Bay Cup, and then all the Champions League, Kane is going to get so much abuse if that happens.
Yeah, you can take the Tottenham out of Kane, but you can't take Kane out of Tottenham. Is that right?
Oh, maybe the other way around. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, but good luck to the guy. He's got his move. I think a lot of questions have got to be asked of Levy, though, and I think they are being asked, rightly so. Moving on, and I think final conversation of the week. I think we're going to cover quickly a little bit of Neymar and a little bit of Mbappe. I'm just going to say it outright because I don't care. When I saw Neymar has been linked with Saudi Arabia, I thought two things. Number one, shock horror. And number two, he's going to go. He's 20. I mean, like, I'm sitting in this Man United group chat and they're like, "Oh, Neymar, we should be all over that." I'm like, we absolutely shouldn't.
No.
We should not be over that. He's not a player. Right, the geezer's going to take off in February. He's going to take a month off in February. He's going to have an injury in February, and he's going to go back to Brazil. And what he does in Brazil, I ain't going to mention in the podcast, but we all know what he does when he goes back to Brazil. He likes his sister a bit too much, right? And he's going back to Brazil. He does it every year. There's always this question mark whether he'll be fit for the Champions League. Well, because he's gone back to see his sister, so it's just like this public holiday, isn't it? It's just like it just reminds me of Carlos Tevez at Man City, where the guy just disappears for a month. Do you know what I mean?
When you look at his league appearances in the last, his last 6 seasons at PSG, only once has he made more than 20 appearances.
Enough said. Case closed. Geezer's a loser.
To be fair, his goal records are outstanding, and in the Champions League as well. He's got goals consistently in the Champions League. Apart from the year prior where he got none and 6. But the thing is, you pay all that money, you're paying all his wages, and the bloke's not even going to be there for half the season. So what's the point? What is the point?
I don't
think he really cares. to be honest, he's won the Liga a couple of times. He's already won the Champions League with Barcelona, so he ain't really too bothered. I don't think. You know, he knows that he basically is going to play for Brazil every time he wants.
Yeah, but come on, right? This is the way I look at it. Yeah, and I think I covered this, and we haven't really covered it today as well. But we had a conversation about Moise Caicedo. Now, anyone who knows me, and you probably, knows that we despise Liverpool, right? And actually, my dad actually come up with this good point today. But if I'm sitting there, and I'm, what?
He hates him the most.
Yeah, but well, it wasn't on this point, but my point is, if I'm sitting there and I've got Liverpool or I've got Chelsea, I'm going to Liverpool because of the prestige of the club, right? That whole I played for Liverpool in my career. You know what? I play for Chelsea. Like Chelsea have got a recent history. Chelsea have always been renowned for being a mid-table club. I said this to you earlier on today. I mean, I remember when I used to think, oh, Chelsea this week, that'll be an all right game. We'll probably win that. Do you know what I mean? And then they got bought out by Abramovich and the rest is history. That's when they became good. Chelsea before didn't exist. You know, Nelly went to the wall several times under Ken Bates and stuff. Anyway, if you've got time and you've never done it, just Google Stamford Bridge from 1980s. Just do it. It's a lovely picture. Anyway, moving on. But and the point my dad made is with the Moise Caicedo thing. He's like, yeah, but Moise Caicedo has only just started earning decent money in his career, so that's probably why his agent is saying go to Chelsea. Because
yeah, that's a very valid point. And also, he's younger than me. Like he's 3 years younger than me. Like all he really will know with football is that Chelsea are a big club as well. Like he wouldn't have been about when they were smaller. So it's less, you know, that will play less of a role in his mind. Chelsea are a big club, and they you know, do you know what I mean?
But, okay, so maybe I didn't explain my original point, but my point is that I wouldn't go to Liverpool over I'd go to Liverpool over Chelsea because the money wouldn't mean so much to me. I'd want to play for a prestige club, and then like my dad said, it was actually Caicedo's only just signed that good contract at Brighton, and then he's been being offered probably 200 grand a week plus at Chelsea, maybe 150 grand at Liverpool. You can't blame him in that. And I was like, actually, that's actually something I didn't think about. So it's a very good comment, Paul Lake. A very good one from you. I should have gotten to pronounce his name. That would have been brilliant. That's worse than me. You know, but Lewandowski's the one. I love it when he tries to pronounce Lewandowski. It's brilliant. Anyway, but moving back to my original point with Neymar here is that this guy, to me, he should be like, he's got all this ability in the world. And if it was purely football and ability, I would take him at Manchester United in a heartbeat. But the guy does not have a heart for football in general, because that was me. I wouldn't have even gone to PSG in the first place. I would have stayed at Barcelona, and stayed with Messi and Suarez, or if it were, and just tried to build this absolute dynasty and take over Messi and become that best player in the world. Do you know what I mean? And I would have been gagging for that. That would have been my target. Oh, instead, I'm just going to go to PSG. They'll probably let me have a month off in February when I want to go back to Brazil and see my sister. And I'll be earning 300 grand a week. And the rest is history. You know what I mean? It's just, I think it's a shit. And like I said, my main point at the very start, number one, Saudi are interested. Yep, he's going. It's simple, isn't it? And it's near enough done. So I just want to get that out there, really. I think he's pathetic. All the ability in the world, and again, it's the drive. I question his drive, and I don't think he's got it.
I will say the sort of counter to that is that, to be fair, like the amount of tackles that have been put on that bloke because of his style of play and him not being protected. He also had that back injury as well, where he got ruled out. I think it was after the round of 16. The 2014 World Cup. You know, I think there is genuine injury issues there which have plagued him, because when he was younger, he did play all the time, and then, you know, I think there is a little bit of that as well.
Messi gets kicked around. Ronaldo gets
but Messi
around.
never really got injured like that. You know, some players are more fortunate than others in terms of like the injuries they get.
I see what you're saying, but I just think you've still got to question his drive.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, for sure, for sure.
he had the ability to stay at Barcelona when they are undoubtedly one of the best teams in the world. Could have took on that mantle, could have continued to be there and become one of the all-time greats. And he bottled it, didn't he? He bottled it
Yeah.
and bailed. He bailed it because he's got a fit sister. Right. Anyway, next subject. We're going to stay in Paris, right? And this guy is an absolute buffoon, right? Another buffoon. Yeah. Tell me he's got all the ability in the world, but he just drives me absolute apeshit. And if Real Madrid have got any sense and he comes and uses them, because that's what he is doing, right? They will tell him to run and jump, right? Mbappe, you are a fool. You are nothing. Good night, Andrew Tate. Love it. Yeah. No, whatever. No, it's he's just what is going on, man? You know, like I'm leaving. I'm not signing a new contract. Blah blah blah. All the motions are set in to go to Real Madrid for the second time, and then he's just like, all of a sudden, oh yeah, now I'm going to stay. Yeah, I'm going to sign a new
Money.
contract for another
It's all
year.
just money. All just money.
And again, it's another guy to me. He's got no drive. You know, he's got no drive. You know, he should be like, stick to your guns. And I think for all his worth, I actually listened to Jamie O'Hara today and I thought, bloody hell, I'm actually struggling with this one because I'm actually agreeing with him. He's watched it on Sky Sports News and it was like he was on Talk Sport and he forgot where he was for a minute because he was just sitting there like, he's really controversial on Talk Sport, which they all are anyway, you know, deliberately. And he was just shaking his head. He was just sitting there shaking his head. He's just like, I'm not having it. I'm not having it. Like, he's bottled it. He's basically bottled going to Real Madrid, and he's used him again twice. He's had that option to run down his contract and just walk out and just come on. If PSG was sitting like second in the league in like October, November, you think they're not going to go to Neymar and Mbappe and go, yeah, I think we kind of like need you to come and play. You know, I mean, they would, wouldn't they? They're not going to shut him out for the whole season. You know, and I think again, it's another one of these situations where it's like the chairman's kind of made this happen, right? The owner. And I think it kind of undermines Enrique because there was a rumor that Enrique was going to walk. Maybe this has got something to do with it. And then now there's a compromise there between PSG and Enrique and Mbappe. They've all got together and sorted it out. But I just think it's absolutely horrific from Mbappe. I think, you know,
well, he would have used that Saudi offer, that big Saudi offer, as leverage as well to then, you know, bump up his contract. You know, he could have said, right, I'm going to go. Oh, well, because PSG accepted the bid, so he could have just gone. But instead, he could have used that as leverage and been like, actually, no, I will stay, but you need to give me a big, big monster boost of a contract because this is what I'm getting offered to go and play in Saudi. So, you know, that's probably what's happened, isn't it? He saw, okay, I'm now going to get a more big of a deal. I'll play another couple of years in Paris, and then I might be able to go around Madrid. But then we'll see.
No.
He might end up bottling it again.
No. And this is where I think Real Madrid, Man City, Liverpool, Manchester United, all these teams who potentially could afford him just go, no. Because I'm telling you now, and people are going to go, yeah, all right, like, yeah, of course. If Manchester United were offered Mbappe, I'd just be like, nah. Not at all, because all he's going to do is exactly what he's doing at PSG. He's just going to continuously try and drive his wages up. He's clearly proved that he's a mercenary. That is my opinion on him. He's a mercenary and he's just using everything he can to get this bigger contract. And that is exactly what Ronaldo used to do when he was at Real Madrid. His agent created these links with Manchester United and moved back to Manchester. Oh, Ronaldo signed a new 3-year contract. And then 2 years later, links with him going to Manchester United again. Oh, Ronaldo signs a new 2-3-year contract. Stop doing it. Yeah. Are you blind? Yeah,
just for more money, isn't it?
Yeah, and
you can't blame them. You can't blame them, to be honest. Like it's the business of it. They're just trying to get more money. Like if you were in that position and your agent was saying that, I don't know. I guess it becomes on your morals and how you want to be regarded. But I don't know.
He's dick. I'm not having him. I'm not having him. I it's two. And the thing is, do you know what's more annoying than anything? These are two footballers who are brilliant. You know. and everyone in this, again, I keep referring to it, but it's a Manchester United group chat I'm in with. It's a ticketing group chat I'm in where we help each other out with tickets and stuff, blah blah blah, right? And we just have general chit chat about Manchester United, and everyone goes like, "Oh, fuck off, Carl, you'd have him," and I'm like, "No, and I think people forget it. I am not debating Neymar's footballing ability, Mbappe's footballing ability, not at all, because they are brilliant.
Yeah, it's not
I'm
about that. No.
It's a driving commitment and what they stand for. And when
Yeah,
you
and
look
like
at
how they're going to embed within the team, and like the sort of the team spirit, and how they get on board with what the manager says and their instructions. There's a reason probably why PSG are yet to win the Champions League.
Would you take Mbappe at Arsenal?
I mean, probably.
I wouldn't. I seriously wouldn't.
I don't think Mbappe is like as bad as like a Neymar or that. In that, I don't know.
Well,
He is like, he don't work back one bit. To be fair,
if I'm PSG, I'm picking him up and I'm dropping him back off down the old freaking sewers with the rest of the turtles. As simple as that. He's in the bin for me. He's in the bin. I can't stand him. The geezer needs to sort himself out. He's either being really, really ill-advised or he's got no morals, and he's just using one of the biggest clubs in the world to try and get what he wants. And that to me doesn't sit right. I know people will probably sit there and go, it's a jealousy thing or whatever, but no. I can't stand them two footballers, and they do my absolute head in. I just really can't. Yeah, I don't know what anyone else's think, but if anyone's got any comments or anything they'd like to say on this week's show or anything like that, then we are at the end, but we will give you our Twitters. We're right there on In the Name of Football Twitter. Just search for us. We're on the Facebook, we're on the TikTok, we're everywhere. Instagram, you can hit us up there.
YouTube,
YouTube. Make some comments. There is stuff there. We'll put polls on the podcasts. And again, this podcast is available for you on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. But yeah, spread the word. Tell your mum, tell your dad, tell whoever likes football, whatever. Tell your mates. It's getting there. There's more and more people coming across on the Facebooks and liking us and that. And we just want you to spread the word, really. And if we talk guff, then we talk guff. But that is why we talk guff, because we want you to tell us what you think, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Exactly. That's why we do it. It is what it is. But yeah, let's hope. Obviously, you'll be listening to this now, and I'll probably be on the way up to Old Trafford. So for me, I'm hoping for 3 points for Manchester United this weekend to finish off the start of the season. Sorry, and obviously, hopefully, we win by more than 4 goals and we're top of the league. And no, I'm not setting myself
already
up.
talking about league positions. Like, come now.
Yeah. Anyway, but no, it's been another great chat with yourself. I would just like to say that don't take anything I say for like gospel, But Neymar's system is pretty fit. Anyway, that's all we've got time for this week. Be sure to hit us up back next week when we'll be talking about some more Premier League action and some other interesting topics in the world of football. If any arise, because there's still plenty of time to go in the transfer window. So it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from him, innit?
Yeah,
Catch you
goodbye.
later, bud.
See you later.